So let me quote now a few lines from a poem which Israel wrote a few years ago. How he got into this situation, how he fell to the abyss, how he got to this argument, and why we are fighting. So every time when I having a fight, I'm thinking about these lines and whatever it's worth it or not. So let me tell you now one fight that I had, and I use this quote lines. I was a paratrooper. It was shortly after the end of the Second Lebanon War in the summer of 2006. My unit was assigned to take guard duty along the border because the border was not secure. We hid into the bushes. We were split into two groups, each group in one bush. We were divided also into the bush. 4 soldiers on the front and 2 on the back. I remember that day. It was a few hours before we were assigned to go to this kind of mission. 3 days, weekend, on the bushes. I had a huge fight with Gil, one of my comrades. Now, when I look about it, we overacted. But then, under this pressure, this condition, we really hate each other. I, for example, really wished him to lose his 2 legs, 2 hands, and maybe even his head. The only thing that we agreed on was that we don't want to be in the same bush. However, thanks for our lovely commander, Moshe, it's not just that we were in the same bush, we were together, 2 of us, alone, on the back of the bush. Completely dependent on each other. So imagine yourself, 2 enemies, the worst enemies together, almost by themselves, for 3 days. Without being able almost to move or to speak. So what we did, what I did, I looked at the mirror and I told myself, wait, Tommy, if this guy hates you now so much, maybe you did something wrong. Maybe it's not just his fault. And you know what? We managed quite well. Let me give you an example. We were sitting in the bushes, and I asked him, Gil, can you please take out my sunscreen and give it to me out of my vest? Okay. He took it out and gave it to me. And I put sunscreen and he put it back. 5 minutes later, Gil, can you please take out my book out of my vest? And he did that. 2 minutes later, Gil, I forgot here a spot. Give me the sunscreen. And he smiled like, Sababa. I mean, fine, okay. After these 3 days, we ended up like best friends. And you know why? Because we understood that our life connected to each other, and in order to survive, and I mean to survive these 3 days, we must put aside our fight, and that's what we did. And I must thank you, Gil, for making me look at the mirror. So what I told now, it's more or less the same to the Israeli-Arab conflict. Well, I know that the issues, the fears, and the reasons which drive this conflict are much more deep-rooted than what I just described now. However, the principle is the same principle. To put aside all of this, because our life connected forever, whether we like it or not. So right now, it looks to me that we, and from now on, when I say we, I mean Israelis and Palestinians. Palestinians and Israel together. Right now, it looks to me that we are concentrating too much on the conflict rather than how to solve it. And let me tell you another experience that I had that helped me shape my belief on how people should act when they are in a conflict or a bad situation. It was again in the army, the end of the week. We gathered, my comrades and I, to a weekly debrief. I remember that. Moshe, our commander, said, we all were sitting in a circle, few seconds of silence. He looked into our eyes, and then he said this: look above your storm, or how you say it in the US, stop having tunnel vision. What he meant, that we need to stop thinking just about ourselves, just about what's good to us, because in this week we act in a very selfish way and we care just about ourselves. We didn't think about our friends. So he told us to stop thinking about ourselves and look about our friends, because sometimes we need to take care of them and it's more important to do that rather than thinking of us. So I must tell you, this struck me, and from this moment and on, I try to implement that on every aspect of my life. I must say that a lot of time I fail, but I try not to. So after this experience, in addition to living 24 years in Israel and participating 6 weeks in New Story Leadership, I came to a conclusion and found 4 steps that we must take in order to make a positive progress in this conflict. First, we should not blame just the other side. We must look at the mirror and see maybe we are also doing something wrong. Maybe it's not just the other side. Second, we must stop thinking that we are right all the time. Stop justifying everything that we are doing, and start looking at the other side. Start to listen and try to understand his narrative. Maybe he also right. Maybe he's not just insisting for nothing. Third. We need to stop emphasizing how much we suffer. We need to stop thinking that we are the only victim. Maybe the other side is also suffering. Maybe he also feels like he's a victim. Fourth, when we are coming to the negotiation table, we should start thinking just how much we can take in earn from the negotiation. We also have to think what we can give and not just what we can take. Because it's not a competition about who will get more for the negotiation and who is suffering more. That's not the way in which people would be able to live together, or at least live side by side peacefully. So before I finish, let me quote again a few lines from the same poem that I just quoted. Are we right? Of course, we are right. However, doesn't matter. The suffering is the same suffering. The pain is the same pain. The tears are dripping, and the blood is turning. And by the way, I am the Israeli who wrote this poem.